Every productivity system you've ever tried assumes reality is raw material, shaped by effort. But you aren't building your life, you are selecting it. If you operate under the assumption that reality is clay, the logical next step is to optimize your routine, plan meticulously, and work harder. Yet highly driven individuals frequently hit a wall, experiencing cascading failures and burnout no matter how much force they apply. This raises a structural question. What if the reason you aren't getting what you want isn't a lack of effort? What if the intense, desperate desire to achieve an outcome is the exact mechanism locking you out of it? Treating the world as something that must be wrestled into submission demands constant, exhaustive energy. You are constantly fighting against the grain, interpreting every delay as a threat and every obstacle as a failure. In complex systems, when applying maximum effort consistently yields maximum resistance, the problem usually isn't the environment. The underlying mechanics of how we apply effort are structurally flawed. A reclusive Russian author named Vadim Zeland wrote this idea down in the early 2000s. He doesn't do interviews, he doesn't participate in public events, and he maintains a strictly anonymous profile. His work emerged from post-Soviet Russia, grounding this philosophy far outside the typical Western optimization bubble. Zeland's background is in quantum physics. He explicitly frames his model, which he calls transurfing, as a practical technology of event management derived from the physics of informational fields, rather than a mystical art. Despite his total absence from the monetized self-help industry, his writing spread. It has been translated into more than 20 languages, quietly becoming a foundational text for a massive online audience. Because there is no personal brand to sell and no guru persona to follow, you are forced to evaluate the framework entirely on its mechanical merits. The first core pillar of transurfing is the infosphere. Zeland defines this as an infinite, pre-existing archive that contains every possible variation of reality, acting like endless film rolls of potential life scenarios. This directly contradicts standard manifestation frameworks. Your thoughts do not physically impact matter, and you are not conjuring new realities into existence from thin air. You are simply navigating toward versions of reality that are already fully formed in the archive. Your emotional states act strictly as the steering mechanism through this space. Heavy resistance indicates you're forcing a transition that doesn't follow your current path. Releasing the struggle allows your internal state to settle onto a pre-existing line, finding the literal current of events. This runs counter to the mindset of high achievers, who are culturally conditioned to double down and push harder the moment a system breaks down. If you find yourself fighting a constant uphill battle, you haven't been dealt a bad hand. You have misread the map and steered yourself straight into maximum friction. This leads to the second pillar, and the one that triggers the most skepticism from high achievers, the importance factor. The rule states that assigning excessive significance or desperation to a specific desire creates an invisible energy imbalance. To restore equilibrium to the field, the universe structurally repels the highly desired goal away from you. While Zeland uses mystical terminology, behavioral scientists study this exact phenomenon under a different name, the scarcity mindset. Consider a high-stakes job interview. When you need the role so badly that it feels tied to your survival, that desperation distorts your body language, your tone, and the entire interpersonal dynamic. This scan illustrates the neurological reality. High-importance states degrade your executive decision-making. Your brain interprets the critical nature of the goal as a survival situation, triggering a limbic threat response. Once in this threat state, you inevitably signal neediness and erratic behavior, actively constructing the exact failure you were terrified of. Reducing importance does not mean you abandon your ambition. It means you decouple your nervous system's survival instinct from the specific outcome. Zeland's energy imbalance functions as a predictor of measurable neurological panic and self-sabotage. The final pillar is the concept of life tracks, and it is the most structurally disorienting claim in the entire text. Zeland argues that when two people observe the exact same event, they are not merely holding different attitudes about it, they are occupying entirely different structural realities. Zeland presents this as a mechanical rule governing how the infosphere sorts individuals based on their inputs. Your baseline emotional frequency operates as a switch, locking you onto a specific life track within the space of variations. These tracks are cascading. A clean track triggers a domino effect of small, fortunate events, while the adjacent track guarantees compounding friction in blocked paths. The strict operational rule of transurfing is that you must shift your internal frequency before the external circumstances change. The standard human error is doing the exact opposite. We wait to feel successful, calm, or secure until after the environment provides us with concrete proof. But passively reacting to your current negative circumstances ensures you remain permanently locked on to that exact negative track. Your life trajectory isn't a single narrative being written for you. It is a continuous, active selection process dictated entirely by your internal frequency. To be clear, reality transurfing is not peer-reviewed science. Concepts like the infosphere and energetic track shifting are unfalsifiable models. They cannot be empirically measured in a laboratory. But strip away the esoteric wrapper, and the behavioral directives it demands are remarkably effective in practice. This diagram illustrates how the actual mechanics Zealand outlines, reducing importance and redirecting attention, map directly onto cognitive behavioral therapy and Stoic philosophy, arriving at the same conclusion through entirely different routes. Whether the physics are literal or purely metaphorical is irrelevant. As a psychological operating system, it successfully optimizes human behavior under extreme pressure. What Zealand's cosmology provides that clinical psychology often lacks is a felt sense that the universe is structurally on their side. Operating under the belief that reality is a pre-existing catalog instantly neutralizes the crippling anxiety of trying to force outcomes into existence. It highlights a deep behavioral paradox. Releasing your obsessive need to control an outcome is often the exact mechanical step required to achieve it. The friction we constantly battle is rarely the environment itself. More often than not, it is our own desperate resistance to it. What if the primary barrier standing between you and your desired life is simply how hard you're gripping it?